Jon Beckstrand, CEO of MasterControl. Welcome.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you for having us back this year. We want to ask you some different questions than what is normal to ask a CEO.
Okay.
And let me start off with a compliment. I have been, and my team has been, to many, many, many user conferences over the years. The feel, the theme, and the buzz of the conferences that MasterControl puts on is different. Everything from the star power that you hire for the opening keynotes, the way in which you got customers involved from the very, very beginning of the conference. So let me start off with some of the basics first. For this year, you had this metaphor about star formation: dust, gas, nebula, protostar, star.
Yeah.
Did Neil deGrasse Tyson come first, or did that metaphor come first?
You know, I'm not really sorry. The metaphor came after Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Okay.
I think that they chose the theme first, the next frontier.
Okay.
And then Neil deGrasse Tyson was a perfect one because, the next frontier, Star Trek, Star.
Right.
So, and then as we were thinking about well, what is the primary theme for that plenary, right? What we wanted to explain to everyone is that we've really undergone a metamorphosis. Mm-hmm. And as we thought about metamorphosis, we thought about different metaphors to use, right? And we thought, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson's coming, next frontier. We'll just use this astrophysics metaphor. And then from that, we got the idea of putting all our products up in a astral constellation. So it kind of all just snowballed from there. So,
okay, so
yeah.
it just grew.
Yeah,
it just grew. We could do this.
But it was
and then
cool.
We could do
it
that.
was cool to have an astrophysicist come to speak and then have an astrophysics plenary. So it all just fit, and it was really fun to build. So
I could have imagined you answering that either way. I could imagine say, "Oh, who should we get? Neil deGrasse Tyson," and then you build the complete metaphor.
I mean, he
around
definitely came before the metaphor. So
okay, all right. The theme of involving customers deeply early on and having them drive demos, where does that come from?
So early on in our interactions at this conference, we realized that we have enough fans of MasterControl that in sessions where we had a customer with misunderstandings or some kind of negative perceptions, a lot of time the presenter didn't have to do anything. Like if a customer saw something wrong, another customer would say, "Oh, you just need to do it this way." And so we realized that this interaction between our customers was a positive thing. So as long as we have an overall, we're doing a good job, right? And our customers are committed to what we're doing, then, we're actually really fine with not always talking about us as the perfect provider, because we're not. It's also, that's a little bit of the quality management.
Sure.
Aura, right? Is we want to find the problems because they're there, mm-hmm. and correcting them. That's how we get high quality. So it's a little bit ingrained in the type of profession that we serve as well. So.
Okay. And then when you look at hiring outside talent, with a little star power, you had Jason Alexander, the comedian, and of course this year Neil deGrasse Tyson. What can you give us a little glimpse into the internal discussions that you're having about who you should choose? Whether they should be more of a comedian. Although certainly seeing Neil's presentation this morning, he's certainly a comedian.
He's funny, isn't he? Yeah, for sure.
And were there other people that you were thinking about would add to the feel of the conference? Part of what I'm asking is, what are you trying to achieve by hiring the star power talent? Is it just for the pure entertainment value, or is there sort of this tying it in with a message, like you did earlier today?
Right. I mean, it isn't always like star power like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He happens to be life sciences. These are quality management professionals that are involved in the science-based industry, and so he's a good fit, even though he's astrophysics.
Sure.
Right. But we kind of try to find somebody who will be relevant to what they do, but also will be interesting, right? Because that's the content throughout the week. We're all talking about, quality management in life sciences, GMP compliance, making sure that we have the right training record for the right document for the right person, so that when the FDA auditor shows up, we can show them that that person who did that step was trained on exactly the right instruction, right? And so it gets pretty detailed.
Right.
And, it's not, it is interesting actually in a funny way to all of us.
Right.
But I think, having something that kind of adds, a different perspective is something we look for in that planner speaker.
From an entertainment.
Yeah, well, and we've also had comedians just purely let's spice it up and make it more fun to be here. So, we also have industry speakers, right? So,
Dr. Gottlieb last year.
Dr. Gottlieb last year. Yeah. So, it's, I think it's, we just look at what's available, we brainstorm, and I thought this was a great selection this year with Billy Ross Tyson. He did a wonderful.
In a way, it's kind of a hybrid thing. I was talking to one of my colleagues, and she said, well, it sounds like it's kind of a combination of entertainment, comedy, and science.
That's a perfect combination.
With the presentation this morning. When do you start this planning process? When does 2024 start?
Yeah, no. So one of the things that we've learned over the years is when you have an annual process, if you want to improve it, you need to start right after you did it.
It's all
and
fresh
so
in your mind.
the planning will start, really right now. Tomorrow, actually, it's funny because I often as soon as I'm done with a plenary from one year, I start thinking about what will be the message for the next year, because I'm right in the environment, right? So I do think that with an annual process, getting the initial planning done right away is really important.
Can I ask what kind of budget you allot for putting on one of these user conferences?
Yeah, no, I don't want to talk about the amount of the budget, but it's substantial. We really, it's our concerts are very professionally done. Our marketing staff is amazing. We have some great creative talent that have, and also it's funny because it's not you build a new conference every year, right? You're basically repeating and adding improvements every year. So what you see today, it's been built over 16 years to get to this point. So, but
the agenda looks very similar to last year.
When we look at the budget in connection with we feel like this is a point in time where we can bring, a number of our very best customers in. We feel like a lot of expansion comes from the discussions that we have, where we're able to show them, all of our new products. They're able to interact with, even some of our engineers. And so it's really we look at the amount we spend in relationship to the expansion that it drives, and we feel like it's a good investment.
Go back 10 years ago. Okay, so the 6th users conference that you did. What's the difference between that one versus this one?
Very substantial, right? I joked that in the past, I'm in the back, writing my presentation 10 minutes, putting the final touches on 10 minutes before I come out and I plug my laptop in. And, basically no one really knows what I'm going to say until I get out there, right? Because I'm doing it all myself, right? Nowadays it's teleprompted. Our communications director, Kristen Eliason, helps me write the remarks and draft the slides, and then we have a great production stage and crew, and so it's amazingly different.
And the production crew is outsourced.
The production crew is outsourced, yeah.
All right. And when you look back 10 years ago and you think about all the difference, would you say that it's just been a steady increase of more professionalism, better planning, or is it the curve been much more recent?
Well, I would say it's been steady in terms of the look, the feel that we're trying to get. We've always realized that there's two things that our customers get out of the conference. This is actually from surveys right in the first few conferences. The first thing is product information, right? They like to get and this is the really gnarly how do I do this process better, right? So the top 10 tips and tricks from, our best expert, that's always like the highest rated conference, right? Getting very detailed information. The second thing is the social interaction and customer to customer. And they love that because like, you know, what one customer is doing is like, in essence, like a similar thing. So if we can get those customers together and get them to talk, that was actually the impetus for the hackathon. Originally is like recognizing that like I can go up and talk about the company vision, sure, right? And that some people are interested in that. But what this idea that our customers really what they prize is the interactions. Yeah. And the thing that they love to interact on the most is like, how could MasterControl be improved? Yeah. And so it's not that whole hackathon idea. It actually wasn't ever really designed to improve the product itself. It was designed to get the customers interacting.
Really?
Yeah. And so, you know, those two themes of information and social interaction have kind of been like the basis for, you know, what we've been trying to do.
Is there, as part of the planning of this, is there anything that takes place between now and a year from now that will assist and grow and facilitate that customer interaction?
Well, there's lots of different things that we do, but none are directly related to like the conference per se. I mean, we do have like customer advisory boards, and we'll ask them about conference and conference topics. We also do, in between this conference, we'll do we call this our Masters Summit. We'll do what we call a Masters Conference in Europe in May. So that's in Dublin. So there's like a repeat of some of the things we're doing here, and then we add a few things. We also do a forum in Japan that uses, you know, some of the same content. So,
but are these basically sister conferences to this one? It's just more
like, for example, we're running a contest during every summit in Salt Lake City to whoever has the highest marks in their breakout, and then they travel to Dublin and usually bring their family over, and they get to do their session in Europe too. So that's one thing we do. Yeah.
All right, last question. If there's anything that you could add to these user conference experiences for your customers, what would it be? And I asked that kind of with the ripping away any realistic constraints of finance or time. In other words, just think of pure value, regardless of what it might cost.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the one thing that I would add is some way of making sure, like every customer that leaves here, we know exactly where they sit. Because we have a lot of interactions, right? And so we do get a ton of feedback, and I try to meet with every customer informally that I can. But I think having a way to, like, if you come to the Master Summit, when you leave, we know exactly where you sit and what we need to do for you next. That would probably be some kind of a process. That would be gold, yeah. Yeah. Which, yeah, you know, it's funny because that's definitely something we would take on. So.
You know, that part of that question came from a meeting I had with Disney, and they have this thing about Imagineering. Yeah. You know, you imagine an end state, and then you engineer it to get there, and then of course reality creeps in. You know.
Well, that's definitely the hackathon, right? Right. And then what if we could do this all in 48 hours? It's like, what would that look like? Yeah.
All right. Jon Beckstrand, CEO of MasterControl, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.